In the third round of the Zuerich Chess Challenge, Magnus Carlsen faced Hikaru Nakamura, the American #1. And before the game, there was a certain amount of trash talking. Nakamura had said in an interview that he was Carlsen's biggest rival and only he could stop Magnus. I wonder what Aronian thinks about that. And Nakamura also compared Magnus to Sauron. Well, he's the most evil character in The Lord of the Rings. Somehow it's hard to take this kind of thing too seriously. And Magnus Carlsen's manager, Espen Agdestein, said that Nakamura's got a big mouth, but he's a nice guy. And I think that sums things up very well indeed. By the way, I should also say that Hikaru Nakamura has a dreadful record in classical chess against Carlsen. He's never beaten Carlsen. So, going into the game, that was the situation, and this is the position after 20 moves. Nakamura has the white pieces, Carlsen black, and Nakamura is on the attack. You can see he's throwing his pawns forward, trying to open up a file against black's king. Now white's king is on the opposite side of the board, and really to get counterplay, Carlsen needs to attack here. Now he has a very beautiful bishop stationed in the middle of the board, but it's whether he can bring his other pieces into the attack is going to really decide what happens here. It's very hard to slow down Nakamura's attack. And here, Nakamura simply pressed on. The knight has to retreat, and now he's simply trying to open up this file against black's king. Now Carlsen attacked, attacking this pawn down here, and white defended. Now you can see that rook defends the pawn across the board, and the bishop also defends that weak pawn. Because white has this space advantage, it means his pieces communicate very well across the board. That's a problem for black. Carlsen hit white's queen, the queen moved up. And round about here, Carlsen said after the game that he realised his situation was pretty desperate. There was nothing he could do to really slow down white's attack. He just had to keep pressing on himself. So he did that. And here, well, this is a critical moment. You can see white hasn't bothered slowing down at all. He's doubled his rooks. That's very powerful. Now, if Carlsen continues with his attack, look what happens. First of all, let's exchange that off. Then white takes here. Black recaptures, and now it's actually all over, because white breaks through with a rook and black is too slow on the other side of the board. So it's a big race. Who's going to get to the king first? But at this moment, it looks like Nakamura is going to get there first. Carlsen realised things were desperate, so he sacrificed his bishop and then took this pawn, hoping that he's going to break in here, or hoping to distract white. Nakamura exchanged and then took here. His rook still defends, and he's managing to open up. It looks terrible for black here. Carlsen didn't even bother to recapture. He knew that would have been just left him in a lost position, and instead tries to put pressure. Now an excellent move from Nakamura. If this pawn is taken, then it's going to be mate straight away. The next rook will come in, and that's the end. And if the bishop is taken, well, this is rather similar to the game actually. We'll see what happens to that in a moment. So after this pawn move, Carlsen moved his rook to the side, and now the queen came in. Threat, queen takes pawn, checkmate, end of game. Carlsen took the bishop, the king moved to the side. Of course, white shouldn't take this. That would be mate for black. You can see it all hangs on one tempo. Carlsen exchanged rooks. And now there's nothing more for the queen to do. That square is covered by the rook. Now black has to defend the threat of mate. There's only one move. If you take the pawn with the king, then white is going to checkmate very nicely, actually. Now you can take this pawn here, but actually the most convincing move is pawn here, and it's mate whichever way you slice it. For example, if queen takes, then queen check and mate here. Well, there are other mating tries, but g6 is a beautiful move, actually. Just kills black off. So Carlsen had to fall back on the defensive. His attack against white's king is over. So now Nakamura just moves full on with the attack. Threat to bring the knight in here, checking the king and attacking the queen. So there's only one sensible move for black, defending that square with the rook. And now Nakamura, well, he's in complete control, but he's running a little bit short of time. He realised he had a very, very good position, possibly winning, but how to actually win it? First of all, he moved the queen to the side, threatening rook down here. That would trap black's queen. So Carlsen is forced to move the queen away. Nakamura still wasn't sure. He played his queen here, threatening mate again. Only one move, the queen came across. And under time pressure, maybe Nakamura had something like 2 or 3 minutes left, he made the wrong move. He could have won with this beautiful move. The queen cuts back, attacking the knight. If the knight's defended, now beautiful rook sacrifice. If king takes, then the queen checks and then checks here and it's mate. So if queen takes, then knight check, and if king takes pawn, then queen here and, well, mate follows shortly. That would have finished the game off straight away. Instead, Nakamura threw this move out. It looks very good because white threatens, well, two things, just to push the pawn or knight here. So this has to be taken. So Nakamura has won a knight, and he probably thought, well, this must be winning easily. Queen can't take because it's mate. The rook is attacked. Carlsen played here. Still 2 moves to play before reaching the time control at move 40. And suddenly Nakamura's time is he had maybe a minute and a half to play his last 2 moves. He can still do well if he plays knight here. Still, white has chances. I wonder if he was intending this move and overlooked that suddenly, out of the blue, this is checkmate. But checkmate for black. Black wins here. I suspect he might have overlooked this. And now checkmate here. He brought his knight back. Carlsen seized the moment. His queen shot out. The queen is still defending the mate. But now there are threats against white's king. If he brings the knight back, that's probably going to hold. But Nakamura, running short of time, played this move. And now, great move from Carlsen, means the knight can't move because then the rook snaps off the pawn. And this is suddenly, the game has turned completely. Nakamura struggled on. The rook threatens the queen comes back, still maintaining protection of this pawn. Nakamura fell back on the defensive. Good move from Carlsen. You can see how the initiative is turning round, and it's now Nakamura that's going backwards. Good move from Carlsen. The queen threatens the rook, but also the knight. Basically, it forces simplification. If this rook comes back, then, well, black is going to crash through here. But after this move, Nakamura took this, and now we have a situation where black has 6 pawns against a knight and 1 pawn. It's too many pawns. And the real problem for Nakamura is that his king is too exposed. For example, if he starts taking pawns here, any queen exchange, virtually any queen exchange, is going to leave black with a winning position because this, well, there are simply too many pawns here for the king and knight to handle. So this is Nakamura's problem. He has to keep the queen and knight. And moves like this, he always has to run away from a queen exchange. And that makes life difficult. Carlsen keeps a safe king. Now Nakamura really can't do much, and now it's Carlsen's turn. He advances his pawn. Really simple strategy. And now the king came across to defend the knight, but okay, there's another pawn to worry about on the other side of the board. This is very, very difficult indeed for white to defend. Nakamura manages to take off one of those pawns, but while the queen is on that side of the board, then Carlsen has a chance to push this pawn towards the queening square. That has to be defended. Carlsen advances the next one. So the queen has to defend now like this. This reminds me of a very early computer game called Space Invaders, where these bugs kind of crawled down the board and all they had to do was land at the bottom and then you blew up. Yeah, one of these pawns is going to go through. This is a good move from Carlsen. He was so cool in this final phase. He really took his time, and that's very good. This covers this square, so it means now he's able to move the queen, for example, to the side, and there'll no longer be an annoying check from the queen. So Carlsen just has to keep his king safe. And, well, Nakamura can't do anything here. And Carlsen's technique was superb. So he's simply threatening to queen a pawn now. And notice there are no checks. The king is safe. Good move. Also blocking this diagonal as well. Nakamura took the pawn off, and now a safe check from Carlsen. Here Nakamura resigned. If, for example, king takes pawn, then you get a queen and these squares are covered, and well, okay, there's one check here, but the king is going to find safety very quickly, and two queens is too much for white. After the game, Magnus Carlsen said, "I played pretty badly and underestimated his attack. But if you keep fighting, you'll be lucky once in a while." It's funny how often Magnus is lucky. So, at the end of round 3, Carlsen is now in the lead. Aronian only drew. So Carlsen has 5 points. Remember, you score 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw. Carlsen with 5 points, Aronian 4 points, Nakamura and Caruana on 3, Gelfand 2, Anand 1. Tomorrow, Aronian plays Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen plays Caruana, the two youngest players in the tournament. Thanks for watching.